All right, let's talk about the train derailment. So, as you probably have read, because it's all over the place, last week a train derailed in East Palestine, Ohio, not East Palestine, Israel, East Palestine, Ohio. The train was carrying a bunch of toxic chemicals. The town of East Palestine was evacuated, about 5,000 people. One of the government departments, the EPA, engaged in a controlled release of those chemicals and the burning off of those chemicals. While they were doing that, the townspeople were evacuated. Since then, the townspeople have been told that they can come back, that it's safe. And there's like a gazillion stories coming out of this, right? So one story is, it's not safe, they shouldn't come back, what's the government doing? And what's amazing about that is coming from both left and right. You're seeing that from environmentalist types. No, these chemicals are awful, these chemicals are horrible, why are we even transporting them? By the way, these chemicals are what allow us to make PVC, and it is poisonous, so you have to be careful about its quantities and what it does. And the fact that they released it and burnt it off was probably a good thing. These could have exploded and could have contaminated all kinds of stuff nearby. Anyway, the environmentalists are saying, we need to get off of fossil fuels, we need to get off of these kind of chemicals. Of course, then you wouldn't have PVC pipes, you wouldn't have PVC water pipes and sewage pipes. I mean, you wouldn't have you wouldn't be able to live in a modern home. PVC is a crucial material that most of us rely on, for so much. Anyway, that's kind of a typical environmentalist argument. Birds are dying, fish are dying, animals are dying. It's not safe. This is horrible. This is the problem in America. You can imagine. What was surprising, though, is to listen to Charlie Cook. Charlie Cook of Make America Great Again fame. Charlie Cook, who used to be an Ayn Rand fan, used to be actually a Yaron Brook fan. I used to know him when he was younger. Charlie Cook of Turning Point USA has his own radio show. Well, his interpretation is completely different. His thing is, the reason the townspeople were all invited back and said that it was safe. He said it's not safe. But the reason they were invited back, and the government, I can't pronounce the guy's name, the Secretary of Transportation, Buttigieg, whatever his name is. The reason he told the townspeople to come back is because this is a part of the war on white people. Because all the residents of East Palestine and generally of Eastern Ohio, of this are working class white people, and the Democratic Party hates working class white people. And therefore, this is just a racist ploy to destroy and not care about and try to harm working class white people who vote for Donald Trump. I mean, literally, that was his take. And, Charlie Cook's an intelligent kid, super ambitious. I would not be surprised that as soon as he hits the age of eligibility, he is running for president. He has set himself up for that. He's got a wide network. He looks the part. He's very articulate. If you listen to him on YouTube, he's very fluent. He's very passionate. He's very articulate. He used to give a good speech on capitalism. Not anymore, right? He would be thoroughly anti-capitalist today. But Charlie Cook, who has, of course, expertise in chemistry and in biology, I'm not sure he finished high school, but I know he didn't go to college. Not that I care, but he has no such expertise. Knows that this is unsafe, knows that this is just an attack on Americans. And he gives the example of, imagine if this train, this is such a stupid example. Oh, Charlie. He gives the example of, what if the train had derailed and all these chemicals come out in the middle of Atlanta in a black neighborhood? Would they encourage people to come back? Well, he's comparing a part of the country which is sparsely populated. We're talking about a town of 5,000 people versus the middle of a metropolitan city with, I don't know how many millions of people in it. But notice the race card. The race card is everywhere, constantly talking about race. I mean, Charlie Kirk is setting himself up as the white savior. He is going to save the white people from the war on white people. And by doing that, he's using the same kind of racist, attitude that white supremacists have used and that the CRT people use, that the left uses. Indeed, he complains about people talking about Buttigieg at some point in this clip, in the clip where he talks about the train. He says Buttigieg is going around the country complaining that there are not enough black workers, black working class. And that's not exactly, it's a conference about black neighborhoods, and Buttigieg is saying, we build infrastructure in these neighborhoods, but then everybody's building the infrastructure, all the people actually building it are white, are not the same color as the neighborhood, I think he says. Which is stupid and ridiculous and probably untrue. But it's just, it's race baiting. It's emphasizing skin color, emphasizing race everywhere, all the time. And now everybody's doing it. But it's so dangerous. When the left does it, they don't know what they're doing because they're setting themselves up. The right is going to be so much better at it than they are. And the right will appeal to the majority in this country. And the majority in this country can become pretty brutal around race issues if they buy into the kind of rhetoric that Charlie Kirk is. So basically the Democratic Party is out. It's got a war on white people, so to hell. So if they get cancer and if they all die from chemicals, who cares? They're just white people. And I mean, that's the attitude he claims. I mean, just the horror of that claim. Anyway, of course, the train derailment is also has become a big topic on which to discuss train deregulation, railroad deregulation. Become a big topic about how many derailments we have a year and why trains are so unsafe, and is this caused by capitalism? This is and of course, Charlie Kirk won't defend capitalism here. What he'll defend is the racist nature of everything in our country. Doing the same thing the left does that he complains when they do. God. So the left is massively going after the railroad industry. It's not regulated enough. It's not controlled enough. Donald Trump's deregulated or didn't put in place certain regulations that would have prevented this derailment. I have to do with automatic braking systems. That Trump lifted the requirement for that, which is true. This is too much of a Wild West. The real problem with the railroad industry is they're all profit motivated. They're driven by profits. Of course, derailment really, really, really increases their profits. Do you know how many lawsuits this railroad is going to have to deal with from the derailment? Do you know how regulated railroads are and how much regulation they have suffered through, and for how many years it is in that sense, other than banks, it's probably the second most regulated industry historically. From the beginning of the railroads, it was regulated. The government got involved, whether it was by stealing people's land in order to build railroads, or whether it's by regulating the fees and the rates and regulating where they could go and who could own them. And every aspect of the railroad industry is regulated. The idea that railroads don't care. This is also tied up now into the fact that the Biden administration did not support the railroad unions in their conflict with the railroad owners, and that Biden had Congress pass a bill that forced the union, coercion, to accept the contract that was negotiated, right? The contract which was negotiated. So they're claiming it's Biden's fault. They're claiming it's capitalism's fault. They're claiming it's the free market's fault. There is no free market here. There is the free market. And I bet, but if you read what actually happened, it sounds like an Atlas Shrugged moment. It sounds like people not taking responsibility. It sounds like a lot of human error and some technical problems with the train cars, maybe an imbalance between the train cars that was caused again by human error. But it all sounds like, yeah, in a heavily regulated industry like this, where people don't take pride in their jobs, where the companies are not taking pride in their ability to make money and be safe and produce results, and that then nobody takes responsibility. Remember that from Atlas Shrugged? Nobody takes responsibility. Nobody's willing to take any responsibility for what's happening, what happens. Train wrecks, disasters, people die, things get destroyed. And that, to me, this sounds like a kind of a right out of Atlas Shrugged, and them blaming the railroads, which suffer massive economic losses because of this, is absurd. I bet you if you dig just a little bit, we will find that regulations, inhibit the railroads from actually running a rail line optimally. By the way, one of the reasons that the United States has a relatively primitive, backward, old, struggling rail industry, rather than a modern, efficient, fast industry, is because of the massive amount of regulation that are involved. Nobody in their right mind would modernize a railroad when everything is so controlled, where their ability to make money off of it is limited, where their ability to differentiate themselves from other railroads is so limited because of regulation. What we need in the rail industry is total privatization, the government getting out of it, and then you will see real investments in railroad and real upgrades to the quality of the tracks, the quality of the trains, and dramatic reductions in the amount of accidents. Do you know that every year there were 1,000 derailments? I mean, not obviously, not all of them as big as this, but it's anyway. Controls, regulations, rules, these are the kind of things that really lead to this thing in the end. The creating employees who are encouraged to be mindless because they just follow the rule book. Thank you for listening or watching the Yaron Brook Show. If you'd like to support the show, we make it as easy as possible for you to trade with me. You get value from listening. You get value from watching. Show your appreciation. You can do that by going to yaronbrookshow.com/support, by going to Patreon, Subscribestar, Locals, and just making a appropriate contribution on any one of those channels. Also, if you'd like to see the Yaron Brook Show grow, please consider sharing our content and, of course, subscribe. Press that little bell button right down there on YouTube so that you get an announcement when we go live. And for those of you who are already subscribers and those of you who are already supporters of the show, thank you. I very much appreciate it.